Welcome to Porch on the Prairie. I'm Megan, and I live on a homestead in rural Minnesota with my husband and 4 small children. Today is all about asparagus. I will show you 2 different recipes for water bath canning asparagus. Our family loves asparagus, so when we first moved out to our homestead in 2021, we planted a field of it. I'd went to the nursery and bought about 300 first-year asparagus crowns. So we didn't start them from seed, we started with the root. At the time, I didn't realize that you had to dig at least 6 to 8 inches down in order to plant these. Lucky for me, my husband brought home a drill and we got them all planted. We actually planted about 250 of them. Now, about 5 years later, we get to enjoy and harvest our field of asparagus. We do eat a lot of asparagus fresh. We grill it with a little bit of oil, garlic, and Parmesan cheese. But with a field of asparagus, we have a lot that also need some canning. We do bread and butter canned asparagus, as well as dill. Those are kind of our 2 flavors. Bread and butter is a little bit sweeter. Dill is obviously a little bit more savory. So, like I said, we planted 1-year-old asparagus crowns. With asparagus, if you're not aware, you cannot harvest them until the 3rd year. You do need to let these crowns build up, the asparagus will get thicker, and then you can harvest year 4 and beyond. So my recommendation, if you're just moving to a homestead, plant a bunch of asparagus, as it takes a few years to actually be able to enjoy it. Now to harvest asparagus, you simply want to snap towards the base, bend it at the base, and where it snaps clean, that's where it should break free. Now during asparagus season, which in Minnesota is usually late April, early May, through about mid-June, weather permitting, we harvest our asparagus every single day. The thing about asparagus is it can shoot up very quickly. Now harvesting every day, we're obviously not dealing with asparagus every single day. We will make some fresh. However, to keep it fresh until canning, we will fill a bucket like I have here, an old ice cream pail with some water, and then stand the asparagus upright. You can also do this with a mason jar or other types of buckets as well. This just helps keep it fresh longer until you're ready to deal with it. Now, when you're collecting your asparagus but you're not quite ready to use it, and you store it in a bucket like this, be sure this is kept in the refrigerator. I would try to use it within a week or so of storing it. Now today, I will be canning the asparagus. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to wash it. The next thing you want to do is snap at the base. This asparagus has been in the fridge for probably about a week or so. So I will snap at the base to make sure all of what they call the woody ends are removed. All you have to do is hold it, snap it, and it'll break off right where it's supposed to actually break off. Next, I have my sanitized mason jars. So I will take my cleaned asparagus and pack them as tightly into the jars as I can. Once I have all of my asparagus packed into the jars, I will work on my brine. The brine is what you will put into the asparagus spears and actually can it. This is what will give it its flavor over time. Some people may prefer to blanch their asparagus first, but we prefer a crispier pickled asparagus, so we do not do any blanching or anything like that. Next, we'll make the brine. So I have so much asparagus today that I will do both a dill batch and a bread and butter batch. We absolutely love these packets. It simplifies canning so much. Of course, there are a million ways you can make both dill and bread and butter pickles or pickled asparagus. However, we have 4 small children. We are busy. These packets are the way to go. Especially if you're a beginner, try these packets. It really simplifies the whole entire process. The recipe is on the back. Basically, you just need some vinegar, some sugar, follow the instructions, and just like that, you have your brine. So once you have the brine mixed up, get that on the stove, follow the instructions on the packet, and bring that to a boil. The bread and butter pickle recipe is a little bit sweeter, so there's a little bit more sugar. The dill, a little more savory, so more vinegar than sugar. We like to buy these when they go on sale and keep a bunch on hand because every year we use them for both cucumbers and asparagus. If you're somebody who is very busy and just needs to be able to dump and go, these packets are perfect. While your brine is cooking, you're going to want to get your water bath canner ready. So fill it no more than halfway with water, get it on the stove, and bring that to a boil. You'll also want to get a small pot with some water in it. You'll want to heat this water up and pop your brand new canning lids in here. I feel like you get a better seal if you warm these up a little bit rather than just trying to slap them on cold. So once your brine is brought to a boil, you want to grab your funnel and start ladling that into your canning jars. Follow the instructions on the packet for the amount of headspace that you should leave on each jar. Now, if you do run low on the brine, you can always add a little bit of vinegar to get it to the required headspace. So sometimes that's what I do. So you'll see here, I'll just top off some of these jars with a little bit of vinegar to get it to the required headspace. It is important to follow the headspace on the label. In addition, any leftover brine can be stored in the refrigerator for a week or so. That really shouldn't go to waste either. Next, you'll always want to be sure that you wipe the rims of the jars clean with a damp paper towel. This just helps ensure that you will get a good seal. I have my little magnet grabber tool, so I will snatch a lid, place it on the top, and then screw the ring on. You don't need the ring to be screwed on super tight, just enough to hold the lid in place. Once I have the lids on all of my jars, I will bring them over to the water bath canner, drop them in, and let them process. Now today I'm doing quarts, so they should process in my water bath canner for 15 minutes. Pints can be canned as well. Those would be processed for 10 minutes. The first batch of canned asparagus on the agenda is the bread and butter flavor. I still have asparagus that needs to be canned, so then I've moved on to my kosher dill flavored asparagus. So once I have the first batch of asparagus in my water bath canner, I will get the second batch of brine going. I will have extra brine, so I will store this in a large mason jar and keep that in the refrigerator until I'm ready to do my next batch within a week or so. Now, after the 15 minutes is up and your quarts have processed in the water bath canner for the allotted time, you'll want to grab the rack and hang it up on the edges of the water bath canner. With your grabber tool, carefully remove each jar and place it on a towel on the counter. It is very important to place a towel on the counter because you're taking a very hot item from a boiling water bath canner and putting it on a cooler surface. The towel helps ensure that the jars don't burst or destroy your counter. You'll want to allow these jars to sit undisturbed on the towel on the counter for 24 hours. Check the seals to make sure that the lids have sealed. To do this, you can push up and down on the lid, and if it makes a popping noise, it is not sealed. You'll want to stick that in the refrigerator and use that within a week or so. Now, if there is no popping and the lid has sealed, you can store them in your pantry for about 18 months or less. We like to remove the rings from our jars before we store them. This is a safer way to store the jars because it ensures that the lid may not unseal and reseal with that ring around it, which then obviously would cause a bacteria-filled jar and would make you sick. In addition, sometimes these rings can get a little bit rusty and it makes it really hard to get them off the jars. I hope you've enjoyed my very simple method for water bath canning, bread and butter, and kosher dill pickled asparagus. If you give this recipe a try, I hope you'll let me know in the comments what you think of it. Be sure to subscribe for more life on the homestead, tips, and tricks. As always, thank you for being here.